Hi, I'm Trevor Dumbleton and we're going to talk about weight loss. And let's be honest, weight loss is something that most of us do battle with at some stage in our lives. And the theory is simple: eat less calories than you use. Practice is usually different. Usually there's a short-term weight loss where you stick fairly rigidly to this year's diet. Then you fall off the wagon and put at least as much back on as you've lost. Usually in a very short space of time, much shorter than the time it took to lose the pounds in the first place. And if diet books worked, we'd all be slim, and if diet drinks worked, we'd all be slim. So what's going wrong? Well, diet books are all roughly the same. Sure, the detail's different. Could be more fibre with F-Plan. I'm old enough to have bought that, and it worked to a fair extent. It's always felt full after meals, but for whatever reason I stopped following it and put the weight back on. Atkins, that's a male-friendly diet. Bacon and eggs for breakfast, steaks, lashings of cream, that kind of thing. Again, it worked for a while, but it got boring. I started missing things like crisps and chocolate. Plus, with those diet plans and others, there's the inevitable slowing down of weight loss. That's expected, and then a plateau. The weight loss plateau is something that happens with near enough any diet, and the books don't mention it much as it doesn't really help sell more copies, but it's definitely there. And it's probably one of the biggest reasons we fall off whichever diet plan we've been following, because in our mind, the plateau means the diet stopped working. And whilst that's not particularly true, it doesn't matter. What's much more likely is that our body has gone into self-defense mode. It's only in recent years that we've had more food than we could possibly eat, always available. Our genetic structure takes thousands of years to catch up with that kind of change, so it still thinks we're moments away from famine. So the plateau is really just it going into starvation mode and conserving energy. Our metabolism slows down, all sorts of things like that. And that's why our weight so often hits a plateau and stubbornly refuses to move. And there have been some studies recently that have shown that people who don't diet all the time lose more weight than those who try to stick to their diet 100% of the time. And that's kind of part of the logic behind the 5-2 diet. Plus the restricted calorie days can help boost your immune system. Various reasons on that. But regardless of your weight loss plan, there are a few things that you should be doing, and this goes for any weight loss plan. First, cut out the diet drinks. They don't work. If they did, we'd all be slim, and actually they're probably worse than drinking full sugar versions of a soft drink. And that's partly because the artificial sweeteners are iffy, to say the least. Read a few Wikipedia pages on aspartame and saccharin, and it's partly because our body just doesn't know they're not sugar. So it reacts as if they are, and that just messes up all sorts of delicate balances that would normally keep on top of. So, in a nutshell, avoid diet drinks. Next is stop drinking juice. I know the label on the carton says it's part of your 5 a day, and yeah, that's technically true. But it's also a lot easier to slurp down a glass of orange juice than it is to peel and eat several oranges, which means you're getting more calories for less effort. Ring a bell? I doubt that many of us would actually eat between 2 and 4 oranges in one sitting, but depending on the size of the glass and the orange and a few other factors, that's how many there are in just one glass of juice. And by all means eat fruit in your diet, but just don't buy it pre-squeezed. Which leads on to the next thing, and that's eat less processed food, and that's pretty much anything with more than a handful of ingredients on the ingredient list, and anything where you can't pronounce or don't understand the ingredients. Reading an ingredients list is actually often scary, and a good rule of thumb is that long ingredients lists are just bad. So if you're looking for a shortcut, if it's got half a mile of ingredients list, next. And another rule of thumb, any list where the font size is small and or there's not much contrast between the list and the background is also bad news, because they're trying to hide something. And that's a quick litmus test if you're in a rush when you're shopping. But since you only have to read the list once per product, actually does make the first few shopping trips a bit longer. After that, you just know which brand you're going to buy. And of course, some things don't have an ingredients list. Fresh vegetables obviously don't, because it's only the vegetable. Same goes for meat. But things like beer, wine and spirits don't need one. There's no legal requirement for it, so most manufacturers don't include it on the label. But since those are something you should be drinking in moderation, if at all, on a diet, that probably doesn't matter too much short term. You can come into that later. You can find out most of the time. And weight loss is a very personal thing. If you're tipping the scales at over 20 stone, you'll be looking at a different diet plan than someone who weighs in at maybe 13 stone. And your lifestyle comes into play as well. Deep down we all know we need more exercise, but that doesn't mean we actually do any. And that's made worse by the variety of studies that say you should do more aerobic exercise like working, that compete with the studies that say you should be spending hours in the gym. Walking's fine. It's easy to fit in almost any daily routine, and it doesn't make you look weird. And apart from the shoe leather, it's free to do, and it's available around the clock. No gym membership, no special kit, just you. Then the rest of the weight loss plan is the diet you're going to use, and ideally it's mostly food you've prepared at home. To an extent it will be calorie counted, although not all calories are equal. It's not PC to say it, but you'll lose weight with a high fat diet. They really don't like the studies on that, but they show it. But our bodies do exactly that. They'll lose weight on a high fat diet. Things like hidden calories are best avoided, and that's things like sugar in tea and coffee, too much milk in tea and coffee if it's a 50-50 thing, alcohol in general, sugar in general. And although they're called hidden calories, they're not really hidden. You can spot them really easily. But weight loss is only the start. The other part of the equation is keeping your weight stable once you've reached the ideal weight. That's getting ahead of ourselves to an extent, but it's worth keeping in mind. But the first part is definitely to get rid of those unwanted pounds in the first place. And you could buy this year's must-have diet book. That'll be the one there. Every show in January has the interview with the author. And if you do that, chances are you'll buy it, skip through to the meal plan section, read a few of the recipes, and maybe even follow it for a week or 2 or 3. Then at some stage it will join all the previous year must-have diet books that are gathering dust on your shelf. I know it's true, I've got more than my fair share of those books. You could just cut out things, no crisps, no chocolate, no cake, no sweets, and that'd probably work for a while until you fall off the wagon by eating one of those things, and then your mind says, oh, it's all over, diet's not working, back to normal. Could choose a meal substitute like Slim Fast and use that for a while until you get fed up with not having real meals. Could join Weight Watchers and go to their weekly meetings, and that's actually not a bad idea in some respects. The weekly weigh-in keeps you accountable, but it will depend on your personality and whether you can make the weekly meeting often enough to make it worthwhile. And there's a cost involved and all sorts of other things. Or we could have a weight loss planning session with me. You knew it was going to come to that. Obviously I'm not a doctor, so the usual caveats apply, and if you're too overweight then I'll politely tell you that you really ought to get checked out by your doctor. But as long as you can get around on your own 2 feet, chances are we can work something out. It will be personal to you, not an off-the-shelf solution aimed at everyone, so it'll fit around all the constraints you got, your home, your work, your lifestyle, how many temptations are likely to be around you, that kind of thing. And be something that has the highest possible chance of success for you. You obviously still need to put the work in. I won't be there 24 hours a day to stop you secretly munching away. But providing you're committed to do that, it stands a very high chance of success. And over the coming weeks and months you'll be losing pounds and hopefully buying new, smaller clothes. Or fitting back into those clothes that you thought you'd never be able to wear again, as long as they're still vaguely in fashion. The session itself lasts about an hour. It takes place in Cheltenham. Could be at a coffee shop or at my place, whichever of those you're more comfortable meeting at. You'll need to keep an honest food diary for at least a few days before we meet, and that, when I say honest, that just means everything, not just most things that you eat. And you'll need to be open to the idea of losing weight, even if the ideas aren't 100% conventional. And I know that sounds a bit odd, but it's better to be upfront about it. For instance, if you're reasonably fit and healthy, I might end up suggesting a fairly extreme diet like the one I went on a while back. It's roughly 600 calories a day for the best part of a month, and it's quite restrictive on where those calories came from. If you're up for that, chances are you'll lose a stone or more in just under a month. But if you're not, that's fine, plenty of other options. A more conventional option would be cut down to around about 1500 calories a day. Notice we are calorie counting if you're male, 1200 a day if you're female. Yeah, calorie counting, it's not perfect, but it's a good shortcut. And some great ways to do that, and they include recipes like curry, so it doesn't feel as though you're on a diet, which is the other psychological trigger. And it's good because you'll be training your body to notice what you're eating. And that will happen whatever diet plan we decide is best for you. You'll find that at least some of the food you currently enjoy isn't good for you. We know that because otherwise you wouldn't be overweight. But over time your body will actually agree with that and will tell you in no uncertain terms. You'll get stomach rumbling, you'll feel bloated, whatever else it is. And weight loss is a lifestyle choice, and it's also a life extending choice if you decide to go for it. Because again, it's not PC to say this, but let's be honest, fat people die younger on average. It's your choice. Can't force you to lose weight, but if you're up for the idea and want a sensible approach that actually works in real life, give me a call and book an initial session. Whether we just do the initial session, which lasts about an hour, or several sessions over the coming weeks and months, we can decide on that when we chat. And I'd suggest obviously at least the initial session, and that will result in you having a weight loss plan, a personal weight loss plan. Then where we go from there will depend on how much support you've got access to after that. If you've got a buddy, someone that supports you, probably won't need me again. If you haven't, then you might. If you want hypnosis to help you keep your willpower on track, I can help with that. But that's not something for the first session. That's longer term if you decide it's what's best for you. So if you're interested, the next thing you need to do is call me. My number is 07967 478 272. Sometimes I'll answer. Other times it'll go through an answering machine. They've been around for years and you'd never know it. If it goes to the machine, leave a message, as I don't usually call back numbers I don't know. But if you want to lose weight, make that call now to 07967 478 272. Look forward to helping you lose weight. Give me a call, 07967 478 272.